Hey, everybody. Welcome to Dangerous Ideas. I'm the most censored comedian in America, Lee Camp. How is everybody? It's the nighttime live stream. What the hell is going on? How weird is this world getting? This is the first time I've done an evening live stream in, I think, probably close to 2 years. How is everybody doing? I hope you're well out there. We're facing the new Red Scare. Not the first new Red Scare, but the new Red Scare. The new are you now or have you ever been a communist? Except now it's are you now or have you ever befriended a Palestinian or cared about ending a genocide? Then you are officially not an American citizen anymore. Yeah, big movements on that front, but I am going to bring you, of course, this story is being talked about across the mainstream media. It's being talked about on Fox News, where they say kick him out of here. Who cares? He was a citizen of the United States. Get rid of him, or permanent resident. And then you've got the other side of things where CNN, MSNBC are probably, I'm not watching them, but probably saying this is problematic. I don't know whether they are or not. Actually, maybe they're not, because they're so pro-Israel. They're so pro-genocide. They got their heads up their asses, etc. But maybe they are. But I'm going to bring you more than that. I'm going to bring you beyond just the kind of straightforward mainstream coverage. Please click thumbs up. And I'm going to bring you much more. We're going to get into some of the mass corruption we're seeing, some of the more of the reality behind what Israel is doing, behind what's happening in Syria. Some of that coming to you from WikiLeaks. So much more. But please click thumbs up, click share, click subscribe, and the bell icon. All that stuff helps a little or a lot, depending. Who knows? But to kick it off. So most of you probably know the kind of broad strokes of this. They have arrested and detained. ICE has arrested and detained one of the main leaders of the first, I guess, large. I'm not saying it's the first, but it was the first larger protest against this genocide on a campus, and that was at Columbia. And as you might recall, that kind of kicked off the then nationwide protests, ultimately on the campuses of so many colleges here in the colleges and universities here in the United States and around the world. This is from the Free Press, which this article is, it's the certain parts which I'm mostly leaving out are like laughably pro-Israel, pro-genocide. But anyway, the broad strokes are correct. As progressive activists and free speech advocates protested the move to revoke Mahmoud Khalil's green card over civil liberties concerns Monday, President Trump warned that Khalil's arrest would be the first of many to come. Indeed, a White House official told the Free Press that the basis for targeting Khalil, and this is unprecedented, it's pretty shocking what they actually admit to, the basis for targeting Khalil is being used as a blueprint for investigations against other students. Khalil is, quote, a threat to the foreign policy and national security interests of the United States, said the official, noting that this calculation was the driving force behind the arrest. The allegation here is not that he was breaking the law, said the official. Now, in many other times, this would be shocking. They don't normally admit to this, right? Normally, they come up with some sort of guise of like, oh, they were breaking this law. He was violent. He even when they were committing all these egregious crimes against the Black Panthers or various peace groups, they usually came up with something. The people, oh, they're breaking the law. In this one, they're not even saying he's breaking the law. They're just saying by being a citizen or a resident in the United States and speaking up for Palestinians, speaking up against genocide. Let's remember there are arrest warrants out for Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant. Like we don't have to argue about whether what Israel's doing is wrong. 200,000 killed when you throw in famine and disease. They're cutting off electricity, cutting off water still today, cutting off aid. So you don't really have to argue about that. And they're not saying he's done anything criminal. He's broken any laws. They're just saying by being a person here and speaking his mind and organizing other peaceful protesters, that's illegal in the United States. Kick him out of the country. And to me, what is so chilling about this is not any individual not going after this one man. It's the fact that they are admitting forthright this person is not committing a crime. We just want to be able to deport anyone we want, arrest anyone we want who is saying something that we disagree with. And I actually think, I don't know whether this is being said in other places, that this may be an attempt by the Trump administration. A lot of what the Trump administration does that seems to be unprecedented, et cetera, is an attempt to see what they can get away with. Will this go to the Supreme Court? Can they ultimately get a ruling saying, yeah, the U.S. government can just pick anyone they want, say you're bad for our national security, and we're going to just kick you out of the country or arrest you and put you in prison. And it could, to me, this seems like a trial balloon is what it reeks of. The official suggested more arrests at other schools were coming. He said, quote, I suspect we'll have other schools roped into this, quote unquote, roped into this. A federal judge in the Southern District of New York, who on Monday afternoon blocked the deportation of Khalil, who is being held at an ICE detention facility in Louisiana. For some odd reason, they shipped him to Louisiana. I don't quite understand that. He is expected to appear in court Wednesday morning. The deportation of a lawful permanent resident such as Khalil generally requires the approval of an immigration judge. So this is a pretty shocking development. There are protests erupting in various places across the country against this and for his freedom. And again, it's what it represents. This is the textbook case of first they came for the immigrants and I didn't stand up because I'm not an immigrant. Then they came for the unionist and I didn't stand up because I'm not in a union. Then they came for this is it. This is the thing. It's not even really hidden, and they're doing it again. They're doing it straightforward. They're saying that he hasn't committed a crime, just that they want him out of here. And here's the incredible pushback, the incredible fight back by the Democrats, because they always stand up for what's right. They're always moral and ethical, and they're not going to allow these fascist Republicans to do this. And here they are, 14. You got 14 congresspeople signed a letter calling for the release of Mahmoud Khalil, and AOC wasn't one of them. 14. You got 14. 14 congresspeople could do the base minimum of what would be required of a moral, ethical, sane human being. 14. Let's this doesn't mean that these 14 Congress people are throwing themselves, on cop cars outside the White House. They just signed a little letter. This is the best you can get from our guy. Okay, I'll put my little name there. That's it. 14. Really. Unbelievable. AOC not on the list. And Stephen Semler made a great point. If you want to believe that this is just the Trump administration, just the Republicans being horrific, and they are being horrific, but is this quote unquote unprecedented? Is Trump the first ever to do something like this? And Stephen Semler, who we love to quote on this show, has a great article talking about how the Biden administration laid the groundwork for what is now happening. Cops arrested over 3,500 pro-Gaza campus protesters. And he says new data shows the extent of the nationwide police crackdown on campus activists. Let's remember, almost all of these campus activists were nonviolent, not committing crimes, just occupying their campus. And for that, they were arrested. I collected arrest data for the 1,269 protests at colleges and universities tracked by Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project and cross-referenced each incident with reporting by media outlets between October 7th and June 28th. My data show a nationwide crackdown on peaceful protests that police have arrested at least 3,552 people across 81 college campuses for protesting the U.S.-backed genocide in Gaza, and that more than 98% of these protests were peaceful. And there's blue dots on the map showing where all these arrests were taking place across the country. And this was all under Biden. So really, you have Biden and the Democrats laying the groundwork for what Trump is now furthering. And again, it feels very much like a test balloon to see how much Trump can get away with in terms of arresting and kicking activists out of the country. This is another important aspect that you will not get from your mainstream media. Click thumbs up, everybody. Also, I would not frown. Let me just throw in here. I would not frown on a super chat. Okay, I would. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. I wouldn't frown on someone throwing in a super chat. Here's my friend and yours, Alan McLeod, over at Mint Press. Mint Press always doing great work, and Mint Press may be one of the, and I used to do a show with them, maybe one of the outlets that is ultimately attacked by the Trump administration, since they are going after pro-Palestine outlets, which means anti-genocide outlets. Alan McLeod did some great research to show that a professor at the professor at the center of the Columbia University deportation scandal is a former Israeli spy. And another aspect of this that we should remember is Columbia, and maybe I mentioned it, Columbia is basically the campus that set this off, the college protests. It was the first one. Initially, they sent in the cops. Then they backtracked and removed the cops. Then the dean was brought in front of Congress to answer for why she didn't use more cops to assault students. Come in front of Congress. Why did you not assault these peaceful protesters more? God damn it. And she ultimately lost her job, I believe. And now Trump is threatening to take $400 million from Columbia of federal grants. Thank you, Stolen TPS Reports, for supporting the show. Hell yeah. Denise Columbia as well. Thank you. Denise says, I never dreamed democracy could die via Sharpie. So true. The banality of evil, right? The professor at the center of the Columbia University deportation scandal is a former Israeli intelligence official. Alan McLeod is reporting. Mahmoud Khalil, recent graduate of the university's School of International and Public Affairs. Yeah, he was learning about international and public affairs, and it turns out fascism is one of those things on the agenda, on the syllabus. Sorry. Was abducted by Immigration Customs Enforcement, ICE, Saturday for his role in organizing protests last year against Israel's attack on Gaza. Khalil's dean, Dr. Karen Yari-Milo, head of the School of International and Public Affairs, is a former Israeli military intelligence officer. It's insane. Like, you couldn't write a sketch like this. And she's an official at Israel's mission to the United Nations. Yari-Milo played a significant role in drumming up public concern about a supposed wave of intolerable anti-Semitism sweeping across the campus, which I'd like to say, as a Jew, it wasn't anti-Semitism, okay? It was anti-genocide. There's a difference there. Don't know if you know. There's a difference. Thereby laying the groundwork for the extensive crackdown on civil liberties that has followed the protests. Before entering academia, she served as an officer and an intelligence analyst with the Israeli Defense Forces. Given that she was this is what happens when I do the APM live stream. You get more moments like that. Given that she was recruited into the intelligence services because of her ability to speak Arabic fluently, her job likely entailed surveilling the Arab population. After leaving the world of intelligence, she worked for Israel's permanent mission to the United Nations in New York. While there, she met and married her husband, Israel's official UN spokesperson. Like, again, comedy sketch. The person who is at the center of this deportation scandal, married to the Israeli spokesperson to the UN. Although she is now an academic, she never left the world of international security, making the subject her area of expertise. She has made a point of trying to lift women's voices in the field. One of these was the then U.S. Director of National Security, Avril Haines, whom she spoke with in 2023. But even though Khalil was a student in her school, she had nothing to say about his arrest. Indeed, rather than speak out on the issue, as activists have demanded, she instead chose this week to invite Naftali Bennett, Prime Minister of Israel from 2021 to 2022, to speak at Columbia. Students protesting Tuesday's event were condemned by university authorities for harassing her. So she had Israel's former prime minister come speak this week at Columbia. It is estimated that at least 8%, I was surprised to hear these numbers, 8% of all American college students participated in demonstrations denouncing the genocidal attack on Gaza and calling on educational institutions to divest from Israel. I knew it was a lot of protests across the country. I didn't know it was 8% of college students. The nationwide movement began at Columbia April 17th. Protesters were shocked when the cops, the NYPD, were called in. They hadn't been called in since 1968 to attack peaceful demonstrators, which I remember covering that at the time. It was pretty shocking. And it was like the same week that it happened in 1968 when the NYPD was brought in to attack peaceful protesters protesting the Vietnam War. Mahmoud Khalil was among the leaders of the movement. The Syrian-born Palestinian refugee was willing to speak calmly and cogently to the press about the protest goals. And I think this may be an understated point of this is one of the reasons. Thank you, Teresa, for supporting the show. This is one of the reasons they're going after him specifically, is to set an example, yes, but the ones who are able to speak clearly and cogently about these things, that know their history, that know their numbers on these issues, and are not just speaking from a place of emotion, which, by the way, I'm fine with those people too. I love people coming up to these protests and speaking from emotion and saying, I don't know a lot about the issue, but this is a fucking genocide. Like, I want those people, but do I want them to be the face, like the ones speaking to the media, the ones on Piers Morgan getting yelled at by a complete lunatic Zionist? No, those are not the ones. And so he's the most threatening, or one of the most threatening. And it was the same, we've seen the same thing with Black Lives Matter, with Occupy, with the exit poll gate and the DNC walkout. Is like the ones who were able to speak the clearest and didn't have an agenda, and they're the ones that are most threatening. Not to throw myself into the lot a little bit, but I'd like to think that not because I speak well. I think I speak very poorly, but it's because I think that comedy is able to cut through a lot of the bullshit, and so I think that makes kind of what I do some of it threatening, which might be why I have some of the most suppressed channels. I don't know, could be. Anyway. ICE proudly apprehended, this is a quote from Trump, by the way, ICE proudly apprehended and detained Mahmoud Khalil, a radical, foreign, Elon Musk is foreign too, asshole, foreign, pro-Hamas student on the campus of Columbia University. This is the first arrest of many to come, President Trump stated, who's, by the way, technically is a convict. I mean, like, he has been convicted. So him being like, this other guy's a criminal. Secretary of State Marco Rubio echoed Trump's ominous threat, announcing, we will be revoking the visas and or green cards of Hamas supporters in America so they can be deported. And of course, they have to say Hamas supporters as opposed to the truth, which is just stop the genocide, stop ethnic cleansing. In another clear threat, the Trump administration moved to cancel $400 million in funding to Columbia, which is hilarious because Columbia was like the first to call the police to come beat peaceful protesters. And they got to be throwing up their hands and going, what do we have to do? Like, we have violated every student's right. We're just beating up students left and right. Like, and we're still getting $400 million taken from our college. I mean, we have been utter arseholes, and yet it's just not good enough for Trump. So anyway, great article. There's some more stuff there. By the way, the photo at the top is what's her name again? Something Milo. Yarhi Milo standing next to and laughing heartily with Hillary Clinton. So that's some of the aspects of this deportation scandal that are not being covered much in the mainstream media. But while we're on the topic of Israel, and by the way, for some odd reason, good old Hills Clinton will show up again in just a minute. But this is just a 45-second clip of former Shin Bet director. So I talked about Shin Bet yesterday or 2 days ago. It's the Israeli security agency, one of the top security. So it's kind of like FBI, I guess, would be the closest analogy, maybe. Anyway, this is the former head of Shin Bet, Ami Ayalon, saying something you need to hear. I don't want to give it away. It's only 45 seconds, but interesting aspects. This, it's funny. Once you retire from some of these agencies, you tend to evolve. Once your income isn't based on certain things, etc. Well, okay. Let me back that off. That was a bit exaggerated. Some people evolve. Many do not. Like Alan Dulles. When he retired, not a lot changed.
Could you describe what is the reality for Palestinians here?
A life of people who dream about freedom and don't see it. Whether we liked it or not, we control the life of millions.
If you were a Palestinian living in the West Bank or Gaza, what would your view be of Israel?
I would fight against Israel in order to achieve my liberty.
How would you fight? How dirty?
I would do everything in order to achieve my liberty, and that's it. You cannot deter a person or a group of people if they believe that they have nothing to lose. We Israelis, we shall have security only when they will have hope.
Pretty big words coming from the former head of Israel's security agency. If he were Palestinian, he would do whatever he could to achieve his liberty. And of course, this is true. You just don't normally hear it from someone who used to be one of the top, quote unquote, law enforcement. Even that is a euphemism or propaganda term. But one of the top law enforcement guys in Israel. You don't normally hear it from them. But this is, there's a great book called The Lottery of Birth. Amazing book. I think it's by Raul Martinez, and I've interviewed him and talked to him a few times. Thank you, Big John, for donating over on Rumble. Really appreciate you supporting the show. But Lottery of Birth talks a lot about how, of course, there's rarely exceptions, but we are creations of our birth, of where we were born, of whether it be the nation, the city, the family life, the level of inequality, the all those things add up. But certain things are true like a large percentage of the time. If you are born a Palestinian in Gaza, in the West Bank, you are likely to support the Palestinian cause. And some are going to, some had their families killed and therefore they become militant. Some, maybe are not involved in militarism, but they're just support the cause. There's a variety, like there's shades of gray, but there's very few Palestinians born in Gaza and West Bank and lived there their whole lives who go, yeah, Israel's right on all of this. And there's also very few Israelis. It's like 90% of those who are currently living in Israel and have lived there a long time say that Palestinians are right. 100% right across the board. There are some. In fact, I interviewed multiple times. I interviewed a father of a military conscientious objector who refusing to serve in the IDF. And, he's an Israeli who completely agrees with the Palestinian cause. They do exist, but they are a relatively small number. And of course, it just has to do with where you live and what your upbringing was like, what your life's like, what the support circle around you is like. And the thing is, we should look at that and go, oh, meaning that what is legitimately right needs to be decided outside of I just grew up in this thing and I am this thing. It needs to be decided beyond that. So that's why something like this is so rare. It's, an Israeli high official who's saying, yeah, if I were Palestinian, I would do everything I could to achieve liberty of Palestinians, or my liberty. Absolutely true, of course. Okay. This next part has to do a little bit with Israel, but it also has to do with what's going on in Syria right now. And as I covered the other day, Syria has now broken down into warring factions yet again. There's been revenge killings. There's been at least the beginnings of ethnic cleansing, horrific shit. And pretty much everyone predicted this. Like, you put the former head of an Al-Qaeda offshoot in as the head of Syria, and do you think it's going to go great? Do you think he's reformed. He loves everyone in Syria now. Yeah, you think? So here is WikiLeaks posted this, and it's from many years ago, but it tells you a lot. Here is from a Hillary Clinton email. And I think this, I don't know whether this was from her to her. I can't see it. This might have been one of her advisors telling her this, or this might have been her speaking. But either way, they say at the same time, the fall of the House of Assad could well, this is 2018. 2018. Well, hold on. She actually said this in 2018, or maybe. Assad could well ignite a sectarian war between the Shiites and the majority Sunnis of the region. Yeah, no, this was revealed in 2018. This is not written in 2018. It was written even before that. Anyway, Assad could well ignite a sectarian war between the Shiites and the majority Sunnis of the region, drawing in Iran, which in the view of Israeli commanders would not be a bad thing for Israel and its Western allies. So the fall of Syria, which then creates a sectarian war where lots of people die, lots of killing, Israel likes that idea because it means that Syria is not strong, so they don't have to worry about it. It could draw in Iran, so therefore Iran's focus is taken off of Israel and, defending against Israel, and instead is put on Syria. And they're a fan of this. And what do you know? This ends up happening. Not only did it end up happening, but HTS, the head of Syria, the offshoot he's formerly head of, ISIS in the area, none of them seem to ever attack Israel. None of them are interested in Israel. Isn't that interesting? And there's been articles showing that Israel was giving medical treatment to Al-Qaeda in Syria so that they could keep fighting. So that came out in WikiLeaks. And I'm pretty sure the date, that may have been written in 2018. I thought maybe it was revealed in 2018. But anyway, as long as we're on the topic of WikiLeaks cables, this one has to do with the Gaza power blockade that is now going on, where Israel has shut off Gaza's electricity. And everyone needs to remember that Gaza is not like a nation in and of itself, in the sense that they don't have, they're in a prison, right? It's open air prison. They don't have freedom to just get all of their own electricity they need, all their own resources they need, all their own water they need, all their own medical resources they need, all their own fuel they need. They're not even allowed to go fishing further than a mile out. I mean, since October 7th, I don't think they're allowed to get in the water at all, but they could only go fishing up to a mile out in their own waters. They're in a prison. So when Israel cuts off the electricity, it's not like they're warring with another country and they've managed to cut. They literally control everything that goes into Gaza because it's a refugee prison. Anyway, here is WikiLeaks. They tweeted out, leaked 2008 U.S. cable, so it's from 2008, reveals Israel's Gaza power blockade isn't just a wartime measure. It's part of a long-term strategy to restrict essential supplies and keep Gaza, quote, on the brink of collapse, dating back well before October 7th. Now, with Trump bypassing Israel to engage Hamas directly, the pressure has escalated. Israel is now pushing Gaza beyond collapse. And here's what the actual email says, leaked in 2008. As part of their overall embargo plan against Gaza, Israeli official, this is a U.S. It's probably State Department email, I'm guessing. Israeli officials have confirmed to Econoffs? I'm not sure who that is. On multiple occasions that they intend to keep the Gaza economy on the brink of collapse without quite pushing it over the edge. And this is internal emails, State Department, U.S. government. This is the type of thing they were discussing long before October 7th. And they knew, and Israel admitted internally, that their goal was to have Gaza barely be able to subsist, barely survive. Because if they went over that brink pre-October 7th, if they went over that brink, then they'd have all the people coming in and saying, oh, it's a human right violation, all this stuff, which is now happening largely. But pre-October 7th, they didn't want that. They didn't want UN saying, oh, you're creating, famine and starvation and stuff. So they wanted to keep them right there at the edge where they're weak, they're powerless, and they largely did that. Brink of collapse. That's where they kept them for years and years. So this is just internal admission of exactly that. All right, I'm going to move on to more topics, more stories, such as the impending budget that it seems will get forced through Congress one way or another. Because somehow Trump, you notice the Democrats are just incapable of doing anything, right? Like without, they would just go, oh, we don't have the votes. We just can't do anything. Like even when they had the votes, even when they had Senate, we just can't. $15 minimum wage for federal employee. We just can't. We don't. Parliamentarians stopped us. You notice Trump isn't stopped by anything. Nothing stops him. Oh, that's illegal. Who cares? He does it anyway. And it shows how the Democrats didn't actually, I'm not saying they should have done everything illegal, but the Democrats didn't actually intend to. There was plenty of legal things they could have done to actually help Americans. They did none of it because they don't literally stand for that. They just say it. It sounds nice. So yeah, I'm going to get to a lot more stories. Let me tell you some things real quick. I've brought back Unredacted tonight. I think most of you know that. It is, we're already on episode 4, comes out tomorrow. So I hope you will check it out. Let's see. I'm not actually going to play the audio of this, but I thought I'd just show you a little bit of it there. But yeah, we're already on episode 4, comes out tomorrow. So if you have not seen the first 3 episodes, check them out anytime. I often just tell people to go to my Linktree, linktree.com/Lee Camp. But of course, it's at the top of my YouTube page. It's on my Twitter. It's all over the place. So yeah, episode 4 tomorrow night. I hope you'll see it. See, you come to the premiere because honestly, it's something. It's like it's like having ice cream that is like the perfect level of coldness. Like it's not rock hard, but it's not too soft where it's getting all oozy and watery. It's like you get that perfect level of cold. Like ice cream's always good. It's always going to be good. But you just get that like perfect level of coldness. That's when it's really perfect. That's what it's like watching the premiere of Unredacted tonight. That's what it's like to watch the premiere. Is like, yeah, it's going to be good anytime. If you missed the premiere and you have to watch it later, sure. It's still good. Still good. Ice cream, always good. But the premiere is something about it. And that's at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. And yeah, that's when you can watch the premiere tomorrow night. But I also hope you will support the show, which is you can do at patreon.com/Lee Camp. And you'll also immediately, like you can click play immediately, as well as leecamp.net, my locals page. Those are the two places to support the show. But you'll immediately get the full interview with Chris Hedges that I just did the other day. That came out the other day for members right now. 20-minute interview with Chris Hedges. You'll get in about a week, you'll get the unedited interview with Peter Joseph, Zeitgeist Movement. A lot of great perks. You'll also get extra segments all the time. You get my ebooks when you sign up. And it is a whopping $6 a month to support the show. LeeCamp.net or patreon.com/LeeCamp. Okay, I'm going to keep going here. Just a second. Also, check out all the podcasts. I hope you'll find all my podcasts. They're at linktree.com/LeeCamp as well. And if you want more after this live stream, if you're like, I need more live stream, you can always check out Government Secrets, which are essentially live streams, but you can always check out Government Secrets. That's a podcast where we go through some of the secret times of our government, what they were involved in. Okay. Let's keep going here. Damn, too many things to click. All right. Did I see Eleanor interview Minar at Mint Press today? Yes, she interviewed Minar, the creator and editor of Mint Press, but it was not for Mint Press. She interviewed Minar for Project Censored, celebrating Women's Day. Is today Women's Day or tomorrow or something? But as Eleanor says, they kind of shat in the punch bowl because it talks about how calling it International Women's Day and doing nothing for women doesn't actually matter. But there's a lot, obviously there's a deeper discussion than just that. So go to Project Censored to hear that interview. Okay. Let me keep it going here. Trump administration is resuming aid, military aid to Ukraine, meaning resuming the proxy war, and intelligence sharing. And they're doing that in order to, they got an agreement from Kiev to possibly agree to a ceasefire with Russia. Now, many are saying Russia does not want a ceasefire. Russia wants it to be over. And so a ceasefire is not good enough, but who knows where things will go next. But it is pretty funny to watch the liberal world flip out about this and just despise Donald Trump for possibly bringing peace to Ukraine, for not killing hundreds of thousands in Ukraine. I hate, I'd say 97.2% of everything Donald Trump does. I do not hate the idea of not murdering more people in Ukraine. I know. So crazy, right? Why do I do that? Why do I support things like this? It's so stupid. It's just stupid. It's so stupid. Yeah, I know. How it's amazing how much things have shifted, where even outwardly the liberals now love war. Like it used to be that at least the theater was that the liberals, the Democrats didn't want war. Now, outwardly, the liberals love war. Outwardly, the right wing of the Republicans love some wars. Like they love the genocide in Gaza. They don't love the war with Ukraine. They would love to have war with Iran. They want war with China. They're kind of hoping that nuclear war kills us all. But they're anti-war, at least on certain things. Another example would be there was a time where the liberal democratic world pretended to be, like outwardly, pretended to be the ones who actually wanted to hold the CIA and the FBI to account. I'm not saying they did it. They didn't do it at all. But they outwardly, they said they did. Now, outwardly, the liberals, the Democrats love the FBI, CIA. Oh my God. Anything that takes away our rights, awesome. Do it. Anything that assassinates other people, yes to that. Outwardly and inwardly. And then you get the Republicans, right wing, and they love some of the CIA and the FBI. They love their CIA and FBI. Like, Trump is not ending the CIA and FBI. He's just putting his people into the CIA and FBI. Because at the heart of it, CIA, FBI, intelligence, they're like the best, like, above the law agencies the country has for just shredding any laws, doing whatever they want. Which, of course, Trump values that, right? Anything that is like, that can just tear up all our laws and go beyond them, Trump's a big fan of. Thank you, Adina, for the donation. Hello from Italy. And it's 1:41 a.m. Wow, Adina, you get a hero's welcome. That's impressive. You got, there's 3 big honors there. You did a super chat. You're up at 1:40 a.m. to watch this, or at least you happen to be up at 1:40 a.m. to watch this. And you come to me from Italy when, I don't know, I can't even remember the last person who said hello from Italy. Love you, Adina. Thank you so much. Okay, so this new budget is getting forced through Congress, and there's a million things that are awful about it. And I guarantee you, at the end of the day, whatever comes through, at the end of the day, it will be horrific. Yeah, the Democrats might get a little concession here and a little concession there, but they're going to pass something close to this. And they're even the ones who don't vote for it, it'll be like a handful. It'll be a few. And so basically at the end of the day, you got to go, well, I guess this is a Democrat and Republican supported bill. No matter how much the Democrats' hair on fire right now, no matter how much MSNBC may be furious at this new budget, at the end of the day, they'll get a few concessions and it'll basically look the same. You know, the big things will be all the same. $1 trillion a year for the Pentagon, billions and billions for destroying our rights, etc. But here's one of the most egregious things. The House Ways and Means Committee recently proposed a budget that would slash $12 billion from federally funded school meal programs. If passed, this reduction could eliminate access to free and reduced price meals for thousands of schools currently benefiting from programs like the Community Eligibility Provision, which allows high poverty schools to offer meals to all students without requiring individual applications. 24,000 schools that serve over 12 million kids could lose access to the program. And it's just so, thank you, Sherry, for supporting the show. Really appreciate that. It's just so in your face disgusting. These are sociopaths. And I know I harp on it a lot. Step 1 to getting out of this, sociopath test. Sociopath test on anyone who leads anything, anyone in charge of anything. Sociopath test. They have them. They work a good percentage of the time. If they fail, if the bells go off, bing, 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 we gotta send the sociopath. You're out. But this is just so in your face disgusting because this is school meals. So you're punishing children. You're punishing children. But also, who are the kids who need the school meals? Poor children. I mean, could it be any more targeted at the least among us? Those who are as powerless as anything in this country. Like, poor children trying to eat. It's like unbelievable. And I looked it up. This would amount to $12 billion that they're trying to save. You know, it's to save money, which anytime they tell you, by the way, this goes for Democrats, Republicans, any politician ever. If they say they're trying to save money in the budget, bullshit. Like, ever. The U.S. prints money. As long as the petrodollar exists, we can print the money we want. It doesn't matter. If they say they're trying to save money, that is a lie. Bald-faced lie to you. They don't care about saving money. If they did, there wouldn't be $1 trillion Pentagon budget. They don't care about saving money. If they did, then during the pandemic, they wouldn't have increased the monetary supply by 20%. They do not care about saving money. What they care about is gutting infrastructure. A lot of these things can then be taken over, privatized. Maybe corporations will go in there, start selling these school meals, whatever it is hurting the poor. They never, the idea of saving money is not a thing. Okay. So just shut up about it. But even if, let's say they really wanted to save this $12 billion, we're going to save this money. Let's say that were true. Let's give them a ridiculous benefit of the doubt. It's 1.2% of the Pentagon's yearly budget. 1%. The Pentagon could cut $12 billion and not notice they cut $12 billion. The Pentagon, in their last failed audit, said that they couldn't account for 63% of their assets. They would not notice $1.2 billion if it fell between the couch cushions, okay? So the idea of saving money is laughable. Thank you, Jamil, for, hope I pronounced that wrong, pronounced that wrong. I hope I pronounced that wrong. Hope I pronounced it right. Thank you for supporting the show. Really appreciate it. Rock on. More power to you and solidarity. Okay, here are a few more of the budget items. And I don't know anything about this person, so some of the things that they're upset about is kind of like funny to me. But anyway, the 99-page Republican budget is brutal. They just unveiled the budget. It's packed with cuts that hurt everyday Americans, they say. VA healthcare down $15 billion. Got to cut money from our veterans because, you know, they haven't done anything for the country. Now, here's the thing. I'm opposed to all our wars. I think all our wars are garbage. It's a U.S. imperial state that is destroying lives around the world. But most of the people that sign up for the military don't understand that. So I don't consider them awful human beings for being tricked by the largest propaganda machine the world has ever known. Rural broadband is down $50 million because why should rural communities need to be connected to the world? They shouldn't. Food assistance for seniors. Again, many of those who are struggling with food assistance. So this is poor seniors. This is poor elderly. $100 million cut. Medicaid hospital funding down $8 billion. Affordable housing down $34 million. Border security, and I love that this guy's upset about this. Border security, no new hiring. Like no increase or something. It's like, yeah, please give more money to Department of Homeland Security. Now, who knows why they didn't give more money to that? I don't. It's probably they probably missed it. Like they were probably going through 9 billion pages of budget and they didn't notice they forgot to give billions of dollars more to border security. Same thing about cybersecurity. No new increase. Oh, woe is me. There's not an extra several billion to go to spying on you and me. That's too bad. Women, Infants, and Children program down $1.5 billion. Flood prevention and disaster relief, of course, because who needs that? $500 million. Who needs that during climate crisis, right? Even though the number of floods, the number of droughts, the size of the hurricanes, the damage done by all these storms, the damage done by drought, the damage done by all of this, fires has increased steadily every year. So we don't need any more for that. And really, what they're going after is average Americans, struggling Americans, poor Americans, because the rich, which they're setting up to give a giant tax break to, the rich are not using these programs, right? You cut these programs, you don't harm the rich. The rich and even the upper middle class are largely not using most of these things. Well, flood disaster relief, I'm sure middle class are using, but a lot of these things they're not using. And so this is really aimed at the poor in our country. These so-called cuts, this austerity. And this is so they can give even more giant tax cuts to the rich. Of course, Trump, along with almost all the Democrats, or most of the Democrats, gave a giant tax cut to the rich last time he was in office. Now he wants to give another one. So I want to move to, before we run out of time, I want to move to this massive lawsuit that Elon Musk is doing to allow more corruption. And it really shows how our system works. And it shows the gravity of capitalism. Capitalism, as the rich get richer. And if you look across many countries, you look at some of the better ones, Finland and Denmark and stuff, they're kind of lower on the scale. It's like capitalism running wild in the United States, and a little lower down, you've got some of these other countries where they have more restraints on capitalism. However, it doesn't matter which country you're in. The gravity of these systems is always towards gutting the regulations, allowing people to get richer, allowing inequality to grow. And here is yet another example. This is over at The Lever, which is a pretty good outlet created by David Sirota. Musk has triggered a corporate deregulation bomb in Delaware. And of course, Delaware goes the nation in terms of corporations, because they are the main corporate state. Like most corporations pretend their address is in Delaware so they can get away with everything. In an effort to appease Elon Musk, Delaware's Democratic-controlled legislature is expected to vote on a bill this month that would not only award Musk the largest compensation package in history. So a side note of this story, it's part of this story, but is that Elon Musk was supposed to get something like $56 billion, I think, somewhere, that number around that, from Tesla. And he basically forced them to give him that compensation package, and they agreed to it, but it is like 10 times higher than any compensation package ever for any executive. And I guess shareholders have brought a lawsuit against him, stopping him from getting this billions and billions of dollars. And he is, of course, taking that to court, hoping he can undo their undoing of his utterly insane compensation package. And of course, he's willing to spend whatever it costs on lawyers. So, it's $1 billion a day. It doesn't matter to him to spend on lawyers to try and win this. But the bill that he is forcing through Delaware's legislature would also shield many of the country's most powerful corporate executives from accountability for their company's misbehavior. If lawmakers don't enact the law, which was written by Musk's own lawyers, so Musk is writing laws now in state legislatures, the billionaire mogul and his allies are threatening a mass exodus of companies out of the state. So it's extortion. It just looks better. It's corporations saying, if you don't do this, if you don't give us exactly what we want, we're all going to flee your state. And it's like the number one form of income that Delaware has, is all these corporations. This pressure campaign is part of a long-running race to the bottom between states competing to attract businesses with offers to shield corporate executives from scrutiny by their company's own shareholders and workers. And I don't claim to understand all the ins and outs, or even many of the ins and outs of how exactly this works, but it is shareholders trying to hold their corporate executives to account. So if you are one of the higher tier, because there's different types of shareholders, if you're the higher level shareholders of Tesla, you maybe don't want to give $56 billion of Tesla's money to Elon Musk. And so you take him to court, and a judge can say, yeah, that is not fair. And that's how it works to some degree. Elon Musk and many corporate executives, I'm sure, on his side, are trying to get rid of that. So it becomes like impossible to hold them to account. That means, if enacted, the wide-ranging regulatory handouts in the bill will have sweeping consequences for corporate behavior across the country. It said Delaware is incorporation home to more than 60% of all Fortune 500 companies. It's insane. It's a state that's like 12 feet across, and all the companies that's their headquarters that they never show up to. It reminds me of, I mentioned this on another, on I think Government Secrets earlier today or something, but I went back in 2012. I did a little investigative documentary with a couple other people where we went down to the Cayman Islands where all these tax havens are to see the like main tax haven building on the Cayman Islands. And it's just one address. I don't remember the address where like it's like, 100,000 businesses or something are quote unquote located at that address. And you get to the address, and it's a little office building. It's like one floor. And but my joke when I was filming standing outside was there's 100,000 businesses in that building. They must have desk chairs the size of blueberries. How do they all fit in there? Of course, it's laughably false. They just put an address down and they can claim that they're in the Cayman Islands and they get out of all these taxes, and it's egregious. Delaware's similar. Delaware's pretty similar. The law would set an extremely high bar for plaintiffs to obtain internal company documents, records, and communications, the core pieces of evidence needed to build a lawsuit against a company. Corporate executives and investors with a controlling stake in a firm would no longer be required to hold full shareholder votes on various transactions in which management has a direct conflict of interest. This law would basically end civil litigation as a mechanism for holding fiduciary accountability and to ensure that they act in the best interest of the shareholders and don't just line their own pockets. And what you see here is like our corporations, especially the large ones in this country, are so unaccountable, right? They can do anything. I mean, Purdue Pharma killed people for decades, just mountains of bodies, and they got away with it until like 2 years ago. Cigarettes is murdering everyone, and they, continue to, but they fully got away with it until a few years ago. Big tobacco. Big oil is going to destroy the planet for all of us. Like, there will no longer be a livable planet, and they largely get away with it, right? So you can almost do everything. But there's this tiny little thing that allows occasionally some shareholders to go after corporate executives, and even that has to be torn up, right? That little restriction that remained, that little restriction has to be torn up, has to be shredded. And so that's what Elon Musk is doing, what he's forcing through in Delaware. And it shows the amount of control he has over this country. Just epic control. The bill amounts to a wish list of reforms advocated for by a radical fringe of Silicon Valley titans and corporate defense lawyers. If enacted, experts say similar legislation will likely spread across the country. Isn't it interesting that, like, when something horrific is done in, like, a specific state, it then spreads across the country? Other states are like, let's do that horrific thing to enrich the rich. Whereas when something positive is done in a state, like when Utah got rid of homelessness, they got rid of 95% of homelessness by giving every chronically homeless person an apartment. That does not spread across the country. That stays right there. And in fact, Utah then undid it a few years later because they realized it worked and that scared them. So they got rid of it. But when something positive is done in a state, the other states are not like, yeah, let's do that. It's just the awful shit. Okay, I'm going to wrap up, but not without showing this garbage image of this is Elon Musk and Donald Trump advertising Tesla in front of the White House today. And the only thing, look, the U.S. presidency has been corrupt forever. Even Obama enriched himself the day after he got out of office, right? Literally within weeks of leaving office, he goes to Wall Street, gives 2 speeches. I think the total amount he took in was $600,000. Could be off by like $100,000. But 2 speeches. So like 2 hours of his life. He gets $600,000. That was a couple weeks after leaving office. So, which is enriching yourself with the presidency. It's just waiting until the day after the moment you step over the threshold. And then Wall Street goes, now we can finally pay you. God, it's been tough. I've been holding this bag of money here, and it's been eating a hole in my pocket waiting to give this to you. It is so close to the literal, like, he steps out of the White House and they're like, bag of money. So it's been corrupt forever. What has changed recently is just how publicly corrupt it is. And I talked earlier about how they are publicly saying Mahmoud Khalil has not done anything illegal, but they're going to deport him anyway. And they've arrested him anyway. How public they've gone with these things. And it really is trying to normalize their criminality, their corruption. Let's just normalize what we're doing here that is remarkably corrupt. And here is Trump literally advertising Tesla. Like it's the biggest White House ad for a product I think I've ever seen. A Tesla parked in front of the White House with Donald Trump going, "I'm getting a Tesla." Like it's the end of the Super Bowl. I'm going to Disney World. Literally just him standing in front of Tesla. Because Tesla's like their stock has gone down like 46, 48%, I think, since Donald Trump won, because Elon Musk is such a lunatic Nazi. So they've gone down like 48%. And so Donald Trump's trying to bring their stock back up is what's going on here. They also announced a massive partnership between the federal government and Tesla, which, of course, is another corporate giveaway to Elon Musk. Of course, Elon Musk he's the biggest welfare queen in the world. He gets more money from the federal government than anyone, and yet he's shredding school meals for poor kids. Thank you so much, Apartment 2D, for supporting the show. Really appreciate the super chat. But here they are publicly doing an ad. Thank you, None OYB as well. Here they are doing an ad for Tesla in front of the White House, as if this isn't just, again, remarkable corruption. That's what it is. But they're seeing how much they can normalize this stuff. Oh, I actually will throw in one more thing. I don't want to make you think no one's fighting back. So I'll show you some people fighting back. This is Pop for Climate is their name on, I think, Instagram and Twitter. POP 4 Climate. And they shut down the Bloomberg Invest conference, which is $3,000 a ticket. But it has all these horrific polluters, horrific banks that fund polluters. Carlyle Group, KKR, Bridgewater, the firms torching the planet are all there. And they protested, and security did not like it one bit.
Get your hands off. Stop hitting her. Oh my God.
They're destroying a planet. They're investing in genocide. They're destroying our democracy. Our friends are currently being arrested for shutting down the Bloomberg Invest conference, a conference packed with the world's richest billionaires and CEOs. Tickets to this conference cost $3,000. People are paying $3,000 to listen to these fuckers speak about how they're destroying our world.
We will not stand for this. We will shut this shit down.
Yeah, so good for them. You got to interrupt business as usual, or nothing ever changes. And I just wish they wouldn't use so many naughty words. No, of course, I've had an entire career of using naughty words, but now I can't say them as much because, and then YouTube won't show my videos to anyone. It really is. It's a brutal catch-22. You know, look, you can take away our liberty, all right? You can take away our freedom. You can take away our love of life, our zest for life. Just don't take away the word. Okay? Just will you not take that away from me, you mother? Damn it. Okay. I'm going to wrap up there. Andrew wants to know, when do they show your shows? I'm not sure. Do you mean when does Unredacted Night come out? What does show my shows mean? Yes, Unredacted Night premieres 7 p.m. tomorrow, Thursday, Eastern, 7 p.m. Eastern. But you can watch it anytime after. And if you haven't seen the first 3 episodes, I hope you will go to linktree.com/LeeCamp right now and watch the first 3 episodes, because why not? What do you have to lose? They're hilarious. They're important. Stuff going on in them. They're free. Like, what more do I have to do to get you to try these things? Check out Unredacted. And this will be the new time, by the way, for Wednesday shows, 8 p.m. Eastern. The other two, Monday and Friday, will remain at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. Okay. So Monday, Friday, 3 p.m. Wednesdays will be the night one, 8 p.m. Eastern. And I will see you not tomorrow, but Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. And I will see you Thursday for Unredacted Tonight. Keep fighting.
Well, brother, I salute you, though, man. You're one of the few that bring together this tremendous artistic talent and still be in such deep solidarity with oppressed people.
It's an honor to be here because I'll tell you, Lee, you have one of the funniest shows on television, bar none.
It's an enormous pleasure to be here. While I was waiting, I was leafing through your wonderful book.
The same to you. I love your show. Be happy to come back anytime.
Lee, this is one of the great honors of my long career, just to be in the same earth with you.
I'm sure.
We're just so blinded. We have so many blinders on because our society doesn't want us to know things. And so it takes shows like your show, and
it is clearly designed to eradicate.
Hey, good to see you.
Hey, Jill, how are you? Julian, thanks for joining me. Honor to have you, brother.
Consumerism is a theory that people should behave this way to help each other. It's not.
Mr. George Galloway, thank you so much for joining me in these dark times.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you so much, Lee, for having me on. Keep fighting. Ha